So today I decided to come do this at the park since everybody's at home. And well, I thought about doing one earlier when I had the dogs in the car, but that's always more chaotic than necessary, so decided to skip it. But I wanted to go ahead and do this because I'm in a really good mood today. In spite of these train wreck bangs, I'm not exactly sure what happened there other than I went to bed with my hair slightly damp. I thought I had the bangs handled, not well enough. And I tried messing with the straightener this morning and obviously it did not work. So it is what it is at this point and not worried about it anymore. I was really excited because I am wearing my shirt. And of course this is the one I got yesterday. It came in the mail, and you know, I made a comment yesterday about how I ordered the bigger size and why did I order the bigger size, and I mean it could have been such a thing they didn't have the large, but for whatever reason I went this size. So this morning as I was piecing together my silly little outfit, I guess, I was thinking, it's like, if I had something to, you know, pull the extra material in, right? So I will have next time I wear it. And I was thinking about like those little, I was like, I can't think of what the name of these things are, but the things they had back in the 80s where like you put your shirt through it. Apparently they're called shirt clips. And I found some, and there were some that were like glittery and still like this kind of color. So it's like, normally I don't love this color. I'm not a big fan of yellow in general, and yellowy type tones, but I'm enjoying it more and more these days, especially as I embrace the full spectrum of my weirdness, I guess. So it's like a 12 pack, so there's a bunch of different colors, but it's like, you know what, I have a lot of these TeeTurtle shirts that I absolutely love that I got, you know, a lot of them, most of what I got before were extra larges, because that's, I mean, it happens when you when you lose 40 pounds, suddenly things are bigger, right? So since I lost like 40 pounds, a lot of those shirts are a little overly big for me now, and so now I have shirt clips that are glittery that I get to add in. So yeah, however we can bring back the 80s, I guess, wherever we need to. Also super stoked because, yeah, these Eklektik shelf, I talk about them a lot on here, and I'm having way too much fun for this. I sent my brother a message as I was getting ready and was like, I'm totally wearing this to Mother's Day. Like, my family, I mean, even this, will not be thrilled. And that's okay, because I spent forever trying to fit into the family that, when you're scapegoated, there's no way to really fit in a nice, healthy manner. So why bother? You know, this is the first time in my life that I have hit the stage of, I really don't give a shit anymore, and as soon as I am able to disconnect from this place and get out of here, I'm gone. But all the pieces aren't quite there just yet. But I do feel like it's very much in the works. Oh, I also found, I don't have them yet, but I should by the next time I wear this outfit. Because I found these earrings on Amazon that I had in my cart for a while, and I don't know if like there's somebody else that has them somewhere, but I mean, if there is, and I come across them somewhere, I would absolutely buy them over Amazon, if there was like a small business or something that had them. But here we are. Since that was all I could find, that's what I'm getting. It's a little skeleton hand with the good old. So I'm getting those earrings too, and it makes me really happy. And I know that's silly, but it really makes me happy, and I think it's the freedom from concern about feeling like shit because I didn't fit in the family anymore. I never fit in the family. That was their problem, right? That was why I got scapegoated. Was because I was going to ruin their illusion. Big happy family bullshit. So here's the ruining illusions. Yeah. So I think I have sufficiently pissed off my father today, which wasn't what I was intending to do per se. I mean, part of it, I'm pretty sure he just saw the shirt front and back and doesn't like it. He has one that's very much the opposite, and it's, I think it's got a soldier or something down on one knee and got in front of a cross and I will serve and all that. And it's like, yep, not me. We're not doing that no more. We tried. It didn't win, or it didn't work out. So it just, we're just embracing the full heathenry and loving it. And I spent some more time writing today, so that was helpful too. Oh, the puppy situation. So the puppy was supposed to happen today, right? And there's another series of things that were silly, annoying, I don't even know. Okay, so they were supposed to get this puppy today. It was supposed to be shipped from Michigan to central Indiana. And at the last minute, my mom gets this message from this shipping company saying that the crate the lady was using to ship the dog wasn't good enough and needed to send $700 just on a whim to have this puppy shipped. It's like, okay. I mean, I'm sure shipping things that way is not cheap, but I feel like the whole, I don't know, it could have come up sooner, somewhere along the line, I guess. Anyway, she wanted to go ahead and go through with it, and my dad very much did not want to, and he said cancel, and it did end up getting canceled. But when she went to cancel the thing, there was a whole back and forth on it, and I was taking my dogs for a walk earlier, and when we got back, my mom was laying down and my dad was in there talking to her, and she was having him read something. And I said, "What?" I said, "So what's happening?" And she said that they canceled it and that it was like a hassle getting it canceled as well. And yeah, that's a blue jay. Anyway, so they got it canceled. The minor issue, I guess, was I walk in and mention that the check engine light has come on in the Escape again. And now, if you watched any of my other videos at this point, you know how that goes. And of course, I don't know shit about cars, and right now, I don't currently have a huge income, so it usually falls on them because they're just trying to keep me from having my dogs in their car, or like in their good cars, so, gotta have something to run around in. But if it's just me, I can drive the other ones, and it's no big deal. But since I usually am taking the dogs somewhere, they don't want the toenails on their leather seats, which makes sense, fine, no big deal. But my dad really hates looking into car issues. And my brother and I have had these conversations before. And at one point, when my brother was in high school, he said they ended up finding out that, it was like a head gasket issue or something. And, our dad was trying to avoid getting it checked out and just attributing it to bad gas. It's like, yeah, okay. So, that's a kind of an ongoing joke with us now, is just bad gas. Because clearly there's never any issues with the car. It's just clearly just bad gas. So, okay. And the several times last summer that the car was having issues, he drug his feet about doing anything, and I don't remember what was the final hurrah on it, but when he finally checked it out, come to find out, it didn't have a drop of transmission fluid in it. It's like, okay, how long can you go on that before, it like causes serious damage or whatever? But it's like every time I had said something, it basically got blown off, or he would do something to reset something and make the light go away, but then, at some point it would come back. So when I get back home and they're already talking about this puppy and he's already annoyed, and he's been in a bad mood all day, which, sorry about you. I mentioned that the light's on, right? So he goes out and checks it, and messes with a couple things, and comes back and says, I fixed it. And I flat out called him out. I said, did you fix it, or did you just reset the light so it went away until the next time? 11:11. And of course he got pissed because, I'm talking back now. And, of course my mom knows that he does that shit too. So she was like, I don't even remember what she said to him. Or I don't know what she said to him, because he went in there and she talked to him for a little bit, but then he went out and drove it around and something else and said there was nothing wrong with it anymore, and even started just fine. Because that's one thing I've been talking about, how it's not always starting. Like you turn the key and like all the music and everything comes on, and then it's just like, no car. Okay. But then you try it another time or two, then it'll usually come back around. But it's not without jumping through a little bit of hoops first, right? So I don't know if it's a starter issue or what the hell's going on. I don't know anything about cars. Why should I try to assume what it may or may not be anyway? I just know it doesn't start when, you're trying to get it to start. That's a problem. So, yeah. So he said there was no issues on any of that end, right? So I get back home, or no. He goes back out to finish mowing, and I end up I decided I wanted to run to CVS because I had a couple coupons that don't really expire until the middle of the month. But I had a couple things I needed and wanted to go ahead and use those, as well as my my little discounts that I had added up on there. So, so I went to CVS. And when I went to CVS, I needed, I think, razors and mascara. And my black mascara I'm about out of. Well, I might have another one somewhere. I should probably dig around in the other box that I got for all the makeup I collected during roller derby, that I never did near as much with as I wanted to. But yeah, I should do that. Anyway, both of the things that I needed, they were buy one get one half off. So it's okay, poop. But of course I went ahead and did it anyway. And they used use the coupons, and now I got money back on it that I'm going to have to spend, which is fine because, at some point I'll need something else. As usually, so I have the thing that you pay $5 every month, and then you get the $10 care credit or care rewards thing or whatever. And, I stock up on the coupons as it goes through, and if I need something, then it usually is a lot cheaper that way. Which actually brings me to consider how much are they overcharging for things anyway, just on that end of, they're able to knock so much off of the prices when you, can stack coupons and all this stuff. So is it really necessary to have it as expensive as it is? And I think that's going to be anything anywhere, really. Most places anyway. But yeah, so the plant I didn't really need. Well, I actually thought it was on sale because it was one in the Easter stuff. And I was looked at a different tag for, so I think I ended up getting 35% off of the plant because that was the only thing I paid full price for. It's like, whatever, it works. I got a little everything discounted. Like, it comes to like $74 for like these 2 packs of razors, 2 things of eyeliner, and the little plant, right? And then, of course, adding the coupons in and running everything takes it down to like $36. It's like, yeah, I just feel like that is a more acceptable price anyway. So like, I feel like it probably didn't need to be as expensive as it was trying to be otherwise. But is what it is. So yeah. Anyway, when I go to get back in the car to start it, didn't start. It's like, all right, and this time, like, the music doesn't even come on. It's like, crap, we're back to this. You know, and I tried it again, and still nothing, so I gave it a minute and messed around with the steering wheel, like I always do, just kind of pulling it back and forth. Not that that really does anything, but just letting it know I'm annoyed at it, I guess. As if the car cared. It's like a 2008 anyway, of course it doesn't care. It's probably ready to die, because it's a car that's that old. And yeah, anyway, yeah, so I came over here to the park, and my brother called like right before I turned in, so I just found a place to land for a little bit and talk to him. And I had asked him, okay, he had these little slats in his garage. They're like this wide, and like the width of a twin bed, because it was like an IKEA thing, and Gracie's old bed was a twin size, and it had like all these slats. So when she got an upgrade on the bed, they kept the slats, because you never know when those might be useful, because they're actually pretty good size, like a pretty decent and usable size. We'll go with that. So yeah, so I asked him if we could have like 6 to 8 of those to try to fix the love seat that my father keeps breaking. The problem with the love seat that my father keeps breaking is he can't sit on furniture normally. Like, he can't just go over and park his ass on the seat. He has to plop back. So the love seat, which has legs that are like maybe that-ish, maybe a little longer or taller, and they're like they have the little screw thing at the top that you screw them into this little metal piece that goes into the wood on the couch, right? And when he plops, it pulls the whole metal piece out, and then, you know, there's nothing for it to screw into. So he fixed it once, and then he plopped again and broke it again. It still broke. I think I've seen him. I think it is a hawk. No, maybe I can't tell. It's too bright and it makes my contacts weird. Yeah, now I don't even know where he's at. Anyway, either a hawk or a vulture. Those are my dudes. Oh, he's got a bum wing. Okay, see if he comes back, and I'll try to. That dude. No, come back. Oh. So yeah. But anyway, he won't not plop on the furniture, right? So at one point, shortly after I moved back, we got this couch that we had to go get loaded on a trailer. It was this big hassle because we went up to like Fisher's to get it, and on the way back it started raining, which we knew was a possibility of encountering the rain, so we did take a tarp with us. It was still a pain in the ass. And then like it goes like next to the table, right? So the kitchen is right behind the family room. And so it's right behind the couches are right in front of the table. So for a while, like when I was watching stuff with my mom and we were actually spending time together and everything, you know, that was kind of where I would always, my go-to spot to sit whenever we were in there. And my dogs would sit with me, and I mean, they get cranky about who gets to sit with mom, so every now and then they're butt heads about it, but I think they'd probably actually like it if we did that more, since we used to do it all the time. But okay, I've talked about how my dad has this tendency of, when I especially land somewhere, it's like as soon as he is around, he's gonna take over that spot, right? And okay, the health aspect of things, for, you know, why everything smells like pee in the house, I'm not judging you about that. What I do have a problem with is when he's literally like going to all the places that I would land, and it's like he's trying to go out of his way to make it so I have to take care of him or clean up after him or some kind of bullshit. Yeah, I've talked numerous times about how I cannot stand moped and a brain fart. Okay. So we'll just skip that part. Anyway, like, I was always sitting on this one spot on the couch. Eventually, like when he retired, he started sitting there more. And then, because I don't want to sit in that spot because it smells like pee, I started sitting on the other couch. And that couch isn't even comfortable. You know, we bought it used, and it practically matches the other one. Oh, the problem with the first one, like, he was always sitting on it. The problem is, since he plops, he broke it. So, yeah, you can sit there, but it's not real comfortable. So, of course, well, since he doesn't want to sit in that spot, he goes to the next one that I started sitting in because it doesn't smell like pee. Well, you know what happens when the man that doesn't take care of himself that well lands or starts landing in the spot that didn't smell like pee before. Now it does. You know, and I commented, I did a video at one point, and I was talking about how there was one other chair in that room. There's the two couches, and then the, it's a recliner, but it's like one of those oversized leather armchair kind of a thing. And, you know, my dog, which it's usually Taz. Taz likes to sit up there with me. Gidget will. I don't sit in there a lot. These are pretty cool too. Oh, where are they at? There they are. Just watch the Blue Jays. Yeah, there's at least 3 of them. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, so I went in there one night because my mom wanted to watch a movie that I had gotten from the library. So I was like, fine, no big deal, we'll watch the movie in there. So I cleared everything off of this leather armchair. And normally it's the catch-all for the blankets and stuff, because since we turned the closet into Gracie's toy closet, you know, it's a lot easier to hold her stuff, but, you know, then there's nowhere to put the blankets. So they kind of just landed on this chair. So I move it all off, and there's also this little wooden rocking chair kind of a thing. It's like one of those glidey feeling ones. I don't know how to explain it. It's got cushions on it. And, ooh, there's 4 of them. Yeah, so anyway, I sit on this leather chair while we are watching the movie, right? And my dad didn't want to stay in there and watch the movie, which, fine, whatever. Other thing is, because it smells like pee, there was a towel on the original couch that I used to sit on, and of course, oh fuck, there's 5 of them. Anyway, so yeah, there's a towel on that one, and then I think my dad had been sitting on the other one for a little bit, but then he didn't want to watch the movie, probably because it doesn't line up with his bullshit religious nonsense. It was like the Joker or something, so it wasn't really that big of a deal, but whatever. But yeah, I cleared the stuff off the chair. I sat in the chair. I forgot to put the blankets back after I was done sitting on the chair. So that meant it was clear, right? So, yeah. So, the next day, and I talked to my mom about this whole thing. It's like, this is what's happened. It's like, I said, did you realize? I said, okay, so there's a towel on this first couch. And she said, yeah, because he makes it smell like pee, right? So I said, but then you noticed he started sitting on the couch that doesn't have a towel on it. Oh, but it does have one of my mom's favorite blankets that, it's like this real soft one that's her best friend got her. I said, but you'll notice he did start sitting over there. And then she's like, she's irritated because she knew exactly what that was all about, right? He went from the one that he made smell nasty and nobody would clean up after him, so he started sitting on the other one to make it also smell nasty. So, and I said to her, what's going to happen, right? I said, if I forget to put these things back, he's going to end up moving to that chair even because, well, the other two, we weren't cleaning up after him, and he won't clean up after himself. Why would he do that? Yeah. So, next day, sure enough, there he is sitting in that seat because I forgot to put the blankets back. It's like, son of a bitch. And I have this theory that it's literally kind of like he's chasing around the spots like where I'm willing to go that he can't have access to. So the ones that he does get access to, he immediately takes over on that spot. And like it's kind of a energetic throwing his weight around and kind of trying to demand I step into my role as the daughter who was supposed to take care of everything. And as I've said many times, I was not raised for any purpose other than to just feed into the toxic family cycle, right? And I refused to do it. So, thank God, it all came about because my grandfather finally kicked the bucket. And so now it's like, ooh, new freedom. It's like we all kind of knew that like things were going to unravel in the family when he was gone, because he was so obsessed with keeping the illusion of how put together his family was. Ain't that? They just fell in line, and I was the one that ended up becoming the scapegoat because I was the one that was going to be a problem. And then let's go back to that time, 2010, when 2009 or 2010. 2011 is when that guy and I broke up. But anyway, the guy I was dating at the time had gotten a motorcycle, and we were always out riding, and it's like, well, maybe I want to have my own. So I decided to take a motorcycle safety course because I know shit about riding bikes, right? So I take the class. Well, my mom takes it upon herself as soon as she gets the opportunity when we're around my grandfather to say that I'm going to take this motorcycle class. To which he responds, why do you always got to do everything different? You got two of the ugliest cats in the world, you got damn geckos, tattoos, and now you're taking this motorcycle class. It's like, I was really proud of myself for what I did next, because that was like the first time I think I really stood up for myself. And I just looked at him, I said, my sole purpose in life is to piss you off. And he shut up, because how do you respond to that? And I mean, it's not even untrue. Like, that's completely that's not my sole purpose, but since that's all he saw of me, then yeah, for him it was. And I'm the one that comes along to destroy the illusion. I hate illusions, man. And especially when they stem from a system where it's literally, bullying is the means of keeping the illusion alive. Like, you can bully people into submission, much like our government. much like a lot of things. So, yeah. But anyway, he's like, back to my father, he's very much the same mindset, generationally speaking, as far as, you know, he's got all these women around, they're supposed to take care of him, you know, and, you know, he's even used that on my brother. With my brother's the oldest, so he is obligated to step up and take care of the family, or of his parents. He said he did it for his parents, and mom did it for her parents, or is doing it for her parents, because grandma's still alive. And, you know, so my brother is not doing his part because he's slacking off, right? So that's a thing. And then you know, it goes back to me and my brother have had those conversations of, we weren't raised for the sake of doing anything. We were literally raised to fulfill our roles in keeping the toxic family system alive and thriving, you know. And like the deal with my cousin's baby, and, you know, like, he's around, everybody's supposed to be excited about this little baby, right? And I cannot be more uninterested in this baby, but it's not because of my cousin and her husband. Like, they're fine. No problems with them. It's all goes back to that it's new blood. It's literally new blood to try to keep the older generations thriving longer by sucking the life out of the younger one, right? And yeah, you know, like when my brother and I started disconnecting, it's like you could really see, at least I could really see, like how the family was starting to, that dynamic was starting to shift. And then, oh shit, what now, right? Yeah, especially when I had that, I woke up with that conversation, I talked about when my grandfather was in the hospital after he broke his leg. I had a morning after he got moved to the first rehab hospital where I woke up crying and was thinking, I have mourned your death for 33 years and you have not died yet, and I will not do it any longer. You know, so it's like all these little things. It's like he kept looking at me and like knowing something was different, but he didn't know exactly what it was. But yeah, I mean, that was the big thing, was like, it didn't affect me anymore. I was like, oh, thank God. You know, and I have to do all sorts of energy clearing after I'm done with their toxic asses, but alas, at least that is something I can do, right? So, salt myself in the shower. You know, usually if I've been around my family, I'll usually do it about 3 times before I'm done. It's like, okay, salt once, continue on the way, salt again, do something else, salt again, just to make sure it's good and out of my system, because, and, yeah, so, like, my dad, you know, it's the same shit, because for my grandfather, of course, he married my grandmother, and she signed on to keep his illusion alive, right? So, you know, I've talked about how they did the local paper had done an article on them when they were, or for their 40th wedding anniversary, talking like it was some kind of big deal. And, well, in our day, if you got married, or if there was problems, you didn't just walk away from it. You couldn't just, I mean, you couldn't just do that. That wasn't even an option. So we just never thought of it, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you can, like, do what you want, say what you want about trying to make it look like you have some kind of happy marriage. They did not have a happy marriage at all. You know, and I think that's one of the things that's really aggravating. Every time my mom tries to pull me in on the sympathy bullshit for my grandmother, you know, and it's like, no, because I don't remember how it started. I know I did a video not that long ago where I talked about I had done something where I had spent some time with my mom or my grandma or whatever, and the next opportunity my mom got, she said something about how my grandma was kind of all over the place, and it's like, she's always been all over the place. And my mom's like, yeah, well, it's even worse now that she lost her husband and had to have a whole new way of living now. It's like, don't care. She should have left a long time ago. But she chose to keep up the illusion, and, that was the biggest thing there. So, she kept up on it and then raised 3 daughters that, still on that whole end. And, my mom likes to talk about my grandpa like he's some kind of hero, because he couldn't bring himself to beat the girls. If there was discipline that needed to happen, it fell to my grandmother, because he just couldn't hit a little girl. It's like, well, that's a good thing, but the fact that she could do it so much so easily, it's like, that's sketchy. And of course we've talked about we've heard the stories about the wooden spoons and all that bullshit. It's like, toxic is toxic, y'all. And yeah, so I've talked about the frustration when my grandfather was at the first hospital, when I was having to take my aunt and my grandmother downtown all the time to visit him. And the one day, my grandma, she always would use me as an excuse for when she was ready to leave. It couldn't be her idea because she wanted to leave. It was she could tell she wanted me to have my day back, so she was gonna just let me take her on home and blah blah blah. It's like, that's kind of shitty too, that you can't just say, hey, I'm tired and I want to go home. You have to blame me for needing or wanting to leave, right? So after she's done this one day and we're on the way back, I knew she was going to suggest we go to lunch somewhere. And of course she did. And then as we're driving down the road to the restaurant, which, it's past our houses and into town, we go past this neighborhood, and she starts spouting off about how she just doesn't understand how my mom wasn't arrested for child abuse, because there was an incident with a kid that my mom used to babysit where she spanked him, and like whenever my mom did that, it's like she would be blinded by the rage and would just go off, right? So she does this to this kid that's not hers, and there ended up being a whole ordeal. So that was specifically what my grandmother was referring to. But for me, the fact that she was able to mention this thing and speak so casually about it, it said to me that she was well aware that everything that was going on in that house was not right, and she chose to do nothing about it, right? So it really just hit me at a whole new level. It's like she knew that, my mom and her blind rage and, taking it out on me and my brother, that wasn't a problem. But when she was taking it out on some kid that she was babysitting, which was also the end of her babysitting, then it was a problem, and she's surprised she didn't get arrested for it. It's like, yeah. Fuck that nonsense. So, my brother and I, we've had those conversations a lot, and, I've talked about, his group therapy, and what he's been learning, and, I've talked to him about my talk therapy YouTube thing, and what I've been learning through doing this. And I think one of the big things that he said was he doesn't think that we were abused in any kind of way. It's like, he never considered that we were. And then when he was telling some of the stuff that he remembered from growing up, and people were looking at him in the group, and he was like, oh, okay. And it's like, just like that. It's like okay, particularly the way we were raised was, we're in denial of the problems of any of this, right? We just grin and bear it, and suck it up, because that's stuff that could mess up the family, or embarrass the family, and you don't talk about that shit because, we're not going to mess up my grandfather's family and his image. But yeah, That's not how I roll. If you're doing some shit, then we're going to call attention to the shit. So it is what it is. And I guess that's kind of partly the purpose of my channel now. So it's really aggravating, and I mentioned in a video not that long ago that I had a moment where I was sitting at the table for dinner with my parents. And again, because I have to live there at 41 years old, since I, had no other option when I was getting divorced and haven't got out just yet, working on it. But I also know that this is exactly why I haven't gotten out of there yet, is because I have to work through all of this stuff and really make sure I'm good and disconnected from it for good, right? And so there's this evening that we're sitting at the table and my mom's being pleasant, and I kind of have that moment of thinking, well, this isn't so bad, and then I immediately shift back to, that was the week that I think like the day before was the deal with when my aunt and I went to the ice cream shop in town, and the asshat walking his dog behind my car came over and was like, oh, he sees my dog and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, there's 4 dogs in this, 4 I think we had that day, and Taz was going off because he saw the guy walking the dog behind the car, right? So he was absolutely going off. So this guy decides to approach the car to say, oh, he sees my dog. It's like, fuck it, dude. Obviously, now move along. I was expecting that he would, because the dog is going nuts, walk past and go to further away, right? And of course, that's not what happened. But what did happen was this asshat comes over and sticks his hand in my fucking car to let Taz sniff him while Taz is like snarling, and it got nipped. He's lucky it wasn't anything more than that, but he got nipped because he stuck his hand in this car. Taz was already pissed at him, but then you go and be stupid because he's like going off and you're clearly not respecting it. This is clearly an issue of not having boundaries. And I was, I had a hold of Taz's collar, and he's lucky that I did, because that would have been a lot worse. But going back to the part with my mom, it's like, as soon as I got home, and like I was livid, and like I just kind of went off about this whole thing, and then my dad comes in the room, and my mom like gloats and says, Sarah's dog bit somebody. It's like, don't you make that sound like it was his fault. It's like, I am well aware that my dog is far from perfect, but asshat had no business sticking his hand in the car, period, let alone with the dog already barking and snarling. And yeah, but it's like, I had the one day, the next day, where it's like, well, this isn't so bad. But then I immediately flashed to how quick she was to throw that out there and gloat that my dog had bit somebody. And it's like, don't gaslight yourself. This isn't getting any better. This is what it is. And I think, honestly, that was helpful to have that whole experience, which again is why I'm still there making the disconnections now. Because I have that to refer back to, and I've talked to my brother about that several times, because he's the same way, where he'll be, that's, one of those narcissistic abuse things anyway, right? Is not everything's bad, but then when it's bad, so he in a lot of ways has tried to not be mad at her or whatever. That's kind of annoying me. And since I'm out here, there's not really a whole lot I can do about it. Well, hopefully that worked for 30 seconds anyway. But yeah, like he started trying to talk about like the things that weren't so bad with it. It's like, don't do that. I said, just remember, I said I had to call myself out for gaslighting myself for the same thing, because the next day it wasn't that bad. But that didn't take away the fact that the one day she absolutely did like gloat as soon as she got the opportunity to say, my dog bit somebody, when my dad walked in the room. So it's like, and they're absolutely in this together. It's like, whether, you know, my dad definitely does things that feel like narcissism, but I'm still kind of torn on, is it narcissism for him, or is it more that he's gone along with my mom's narcissism, and in that way is kind of more of the flying monkey that Dr. Romney talks about, where, you know, they're doing the bidding for the Wicked Witch. You know, I think I'm still really torn on that one, honestly. But I think that my light's kind of goofy now. I'm gonna move over here a little bit. It's not up against the tree. Although there's like broken acorn things all over the place, so it's really kind of ouchy. But yeah. So it's like, I don't really know. All of that issue, you know, with him. With him. I know he's a dick. I do know that. So yeah. Oh, going back to that, you know, how I talked about he won't clean up his stuff, so he like imposes it on your stuff, and that being the big thing on why I have so many issues with actually cleaning my space right now, because, and I've talked about that on here a lot too. It's like, I go through these phases where I do like massive purging and, you know, let's get rid of as much as we possibly can, throw it away, Goodwill, whatever the fuck. I don't care. Get it out of my space. I don't want to hear. And what I've noticed in doing this, you know, I do it like in the garage every now and then. And basically, anytime substantial work is done, it's because I started it, right? Because I got sick of something, so I started addressing the problem. But what I've realized is that with my parents especially, and their lack of boundaries, it's like I can only do so much. So now that I'm only cleaning my stuff and cleaning up after myself, their stuff, you know, starts creeping in. And it took me a while to really realize what was going on that end. And then it's like, this is why I can't get rid of shit. It's like every time I do, it's like I do a massive purge, and then I have to step back and take a break, right? Because I can't go any further. And, you know, of course, in the process of getting rid of things, you know, my mom's got to, if she has the opportunity to look through what you're getting rid of, well, why are you getting rid of this? You might be able to use this someday. It's like, stop it. We don't need it. I don't want it. I haven't used it in 10 years. It's going to go, right? But she's just like, it works and you might need it. It's like, going back to that scarcity consciousness piece, it's like, I don't want it. I don't need it right now. And if we get to the point where I need it, since I haven't needed it in 10 years, then maybe I'll get a new one. So yeah, you know, but then I realized that, you know, a big part of when I hit the wall on what I can do, cleaning wise, it's usually, I might have to pause this to fix that spot because that will annoy me. Or just turn this way. Hey, how about that? There we go. Okay. But yeah, it's like I can only go so far and then I have to stop. And then I realize it's like, because at least my mess is my mess, right? And it cuts back slightly on the possibility that their ickiness is just going to cross over into my space, right? So, okay, example of this would be like my bathroom. And I let it go far longer than I should. But also, you know, partly to keep them out of it. Because, okay, like my dad, I got after my mom when I first moved back, and my dad kept going in my bathroom because he would just pee all over the floor and not clean up after himself. And I got fucking sick and tired of it. And I said, no, this isn't going to work. You know, and my mom told him he's not allowed to use that one anymore. And of course, that's the one that gets cleaned the most. I mean, My mom was okay about it there for a while, but she's kind of hit and miss, and like about cleaning the one in the family room. He's allowed to use their bedroom one or the one in the family room. But then the other night, after I cleaned mine, of course, she broke herself now, so she got an excuse. She cannot go as far, right? And I went to run to the bathroom before I turned the light off to go to bed. And I walk in there, and she got the light off, but she's sitting on the toilet. And she's like, I'll be done in a minute. It's like, why the fuck are you in my bathroom? Like, I got one. I don't use the other two unless I absolutely can't avoid it, which, like, there's been a couple times where, like, the toilet's all jacked up for whatever reason. If we have a lot of rain, and Gracie was really bad there for a while about flushing a whole lot of toilet paper. So, like, there have been times where a lot of rain outside, and then Gracie overstuffing the toilet would get messy, right? But it's like I don't use the other two bathrooms anymore if I can absolutely avoid it, and it's because they're gross. I don't want to have to deal with that. So then they just start using my stuff. But then my thinking, or my perception is, if I don't stay on top of it all the time, then like, she'll be grossed out about it because she just can't believe it looks like worse than a gas station bathroom and blah blah blah. But she's less likely to use it that way, and it's literally because, there I go saying that damn word again. I realized yesterday I say that word a lot, and there are a lot of other options. And a lot of times when I was saying it yesterday, it's like, well, this is like, yes, I literally feel this way, but at the same time, it's like that's something that's happening at an energetic level. So is it really literally, or I don't know. Anyway, so the big part of, like, my slowness on cleaning my mess is because as soon as I clean it, then it becomes their mess starts creeping in because I'm not cleaning up after them anymore. And I mean, the kitchen is an easy place to see because I don't even, the way I am now is if I'm cutting my pineapple, that's one reason I'll be in there. Or if I'm, looking for something, but I don't usually eat in there unless, we've actually had dinner things prepared and are actually sitting down to have that, and then when I show up, I have headphones every time because I can almost guarantee my dad's going to listen to some freaking political bullshit or Jesus bullshit, and I'm just not interested, and he knows that I don't give a shit and I don't want to hear it, and he don't care, right? And I've talked about how there have been times where basically it got to a point where I realized I was always the one putting headphones on when he was listening to stuff. Or I would say, you could use headphones, and then you have like a big tantrum because, that required him to put his headphones on. He has them. He just didn't want to use them when he could force me to listen to shit he wanted me to hear, right? Especially since I'm wearing this now. And yeah. So I don't know. Boundaries, yes. But just in realizing that my stuff being everywhere was giving me a little bit of space from their stuff. So at least if I have a mess, then at least it keeps their mess from imposing on me and crowding me out, right? In theory. So yesterday I go to get my skate stuff. And, my dog crates are in the living room. And because he cannot access my stuff like he used to, I have discovered that, one day he hung his coat up on the thing that the leashes go on to It's not sturdy enough to hold his fucking coat, but he decided to put his coat there anyway. Why? Because I'm the one that gets stuff off of there. I'm the one that hangs my dog leashes up there and keeps them in that one spot so we can get ready to go on a walk easily. Which, for that matter, I have one of those things. I might just start keeping the leashes in my bedroom just to have it away from him. And even further avoid his stuff imposing itself on mine. Going back to the chair that he hijacked from me when I forgot to put the blankets back on there. He absolutely was sitting on that and getting stuck on that because he can't get himself up and he's, it's too far down there. That kind of bullshit. It's like, I put all the blankets back on it after I saw him sitting on it. He hasn't sat back on it again because he's not going to take the initiative to clear stuff off of it. But if I sat on it, then he's going to get in there and sit in the spot I was sitting in to kind of throw his weight around. And now you have to be responsible for my bullshit. So yesterday I decided I was going to go skate, and I did skate, and it was nice. But when I was getting ready to skate, of course, sweaty skate gear gets funky. So I always take it out of my skate bag and put my gear on the dog crate so it can air out. And, plus, it's a lot better to put on when it doesn't, it's not wet. That's gross. And, I wear the knee gaskets, the knee pads, the wrist guards. Those are the only things that I, add on for protection. But, yeah, I still use those, so I want to air them out. So, yesterday, I go to get my stuff so I can get ready to leave, and there's his goddamn coat and his goddamn Trump hat on my stuff. And so I put the coat on the recliner and chucked the hat, and I think it ended up behind the love seat, so it's just MIA at the moment, and oops. Don't care. It's one of those things. He's not going to know where he put it anyway, so yeah. But it was literally just right there, literally again, right on my stuff, and exactly for that purpose, to remind me that he's still there, damn it, and I need to be doing my part to take care of his ass. And I will not do it. I am fucking done. And that was something when when I took them to their appointment the other day, we went to Sonic afterwards for lunch. It was fine, and I don't normally get the carbonated beverages, the soda, the pop, whatever you want to call it, but that day I got a combo and got a root beer, because I like root beer, and it's not Dr. Pepper, and it's not caffeinated, so that helps. So I'm drinking I take a sip of the root beer. It's like, it was all watered down and nasty, and my mom put in the order on her phone on the app, and then we went over and just pulled into the slot, and then they brought it out to us, and then we left there and went over to this other parking lot and sat there and ate. And we had already left the parking lot when I realized that it tasted nasty. And so I was sitting there going back and forth. It's like, kind of got my hopes up for that damn root beer now that, we actually had it, and it was something different. Normally I just drink water or lemonade, but it's like, I'm kind of miffed about it, right? And then I was eating these chili cheese tots, and it's like, that root beer would be really good with that, and I can understand that. A random piece of hair or chunk of hair. So yeah, well, that would just make it worse probably. So God, it feels amazing out here. So yeah, So we eat the food, and I keep thinking about the damn root beer and what am I going to do? And I really don't want to go back, but at the same time, I really wanted that root beer now that I got my hopes up for it, and then I was just like, throw grass at myself. So when I was done eating, I said, fuck it, I'm going to go fix it. I'm getting better about advocating for myself, right? I've talked about how there were 3 times in January where Starbucks fucked up my order, or I fucked up my order at Starbucks. Okay, one time it was me. The next time, I think complication of names, y'all. So this Sarah gets the white peppermint hot chocolate, no coffee. The other Sarah got the white peppermint hot chocolate with coffee. I ended up with the one that I wasn't supposed to end up with. So I had to go back. And, okay, the first time was because I goofed and put the order in wrong because I didn't realize they had the coffee option. I mean, it makes sense that they would, but because I always just looked at the hot chocolate stuff, I went with that. I do not like coffee, so I ordered it when I saw it, but I didn't realize that I clicked on the one that had the coffee. So that was a whole ordeal that day because that was the first one, and I came all the way to this park, which is like 3 or 4 miles away, and I think I came over here to do a video that day, and it was really cold and weird and all that stuff. I was going to do the video. I think I did it after I fixed it. I came over and parked, and I had gotten the cheese Danish too, and I realized when I was pulling out of the Starbucks parking lot that it wasn't the right one. It wasn't what I wanted. So I was going around and around with myself on whether I was going to go back and fix it or if I was just going to throw this fucking drink away, right? And I ended up thinking of it as like, okay, if I don't go get my order fixed, then it means that I just spent $11 on a fucking cheese Danish, and that's ridiculous. So then the more I sat with that point, it's like, I can't do that. So I went back over there and said, okay. I went in and I pointed at the sticker. I said, this is right, but that's not what I meant. And they fixed it, and it wasn't a problem, right? When I got back to the car, I wanted to cry. Just because it was so overwhelming having to go back and try to advocate for myself, right? So then the next time, there was a flip of, there was like Sarah R and Sarah J. So Sarah R likes coffee, Sarah J does not. And yeah, so I went back again, and it was like, crap, again? It's like, because it was literally like a week later or something. It's like, fuck, here we go again. All right, let's get it over with. So I did, and again, it was fine. It was no big deal. And then the next time, I think it was just they screwed it up on their end, and I went back, because it was 3 times. And it was the same damn thing every single time. I wanted just the hot chocolate, and it ended up being the damn coffee. And it's like, bah! So that time, it was snowing a lot. And I walk in, and the person at the register was like, oh my God, I love your hair. It started on this whole thing. And then I just keep getting compliments. And it's like, okay, well, this is kind of nice. And, they felt really bad because I had gone through, every time I went through the drive-thru and then had to go inside. So, well, except for the second time. The second time I went in to pick it up because I accidentally hit pick it up at the at the counter instead of the other thing. And it was the sticker got mixed up because it was the Sarah J label, but it was a Sarah R coffee. So, yeah. But anyway, the third time, and then I also got like a discount. It was like $4 off the next time I wanted to go in. It's like, cool, I'll take it. Got no problem with that. So it's like all these rewards for doing the thing, but not the first time, not the second time. It was the third time. It's like, all right. Like the universe is giving me the pat on the back. It's like, okay, so you committed to this. The first time, you cried afterwards, and that's fine. The second time, you handled it a lot better. The third time, it's just like, okay, it is what it is, whatever. And when then I got like all these rewards for doing the hard thing. It's like the universe saw me the whole time and was like, yeah, good job for committing to advocate for yourself, even though the first time it was my error anyway, but whatever. So back to Sonic. I remembered. At this point I'm kind of proud when I do remember the path that I came from after I jaunted down another path. But anyway, Sonic. So we're sitting there, I just finished eating. They were still eating. Of course, my mom's got a broken wrist. And she was thrilled to death to come home last night and say that she's got 10 broken bones in that arm. It's like, well, stay off it next time. I kind of feel sorry for you. Sorry. Sorry about your luck. Not feeling sorry for you. What was it? Yeah, so I start to pull out of the parking lot and I jog back over to Sonic and I loop around and pull in the space and my mom's like, what are you doing? I said, I wanted my root beer. I'm going to go get it fixed. So I go to the little walk-up menu they had by the tables, and just because I didn't want my parents around, honestly, it's like, leave me alone when I'm doing my work here. So I go over and I push the button, and they start talking to me, and I say, I was just here a few minutes ago, and I ordered a root beer, and it's all watered down. So can I please get a new one? And the girl said she would, make sure, or check the machine, and get me a new one, right? So she did, and it tasted good. It tasted like it was supposed to. And then I was all proud of myself. So then I go back to the car, and I don't even remember what my mom said, but I was like, well, if I don't go back and say something, then everybody that comes through and gets a root beer and is going to be complaining that it tastes like shit, and yet they're not going to be any wiser because they don't know there's a problem with the machine and they need to tweak it. So let's just, I handled it. And in advocating for myself, it helps everybody that might potentially want a root beer in that next little time frame, because they fix the machine, so then their customers aren't going to be cranky about it either. But that's still, I know how I am with that kind of stuff, and it took the Starbucks ordeal for me to get to the point where I was finally okay with advocating for myself, and okay, I'm gonna go do the thing, even though it kills me to have to do the thing, because I don't like going in and saying, but this is wrong. I don't want to put people out or whatever, or make their job more difficult, but at the same time, it's like, it is the job they're getting paid for. So I'm not blaming anybody for it being fucked up, but since it's fucked up, just go get it fixed, right? So it's like a pain in the ass to have to do it. And I went around and around with myself on that one in the car. It's like, and I wasn't talking to my parents. I was just kind of letting them do their own thing. It's like, but now I've eaten half these chili cheese tots, and I really would like root beer right now. So then I got my root beer, and all was fine. What else? I don't know. That the whole deal with my dad the other day when he was staying trapped in his negativity and committing to his negativity and all that crap, and I was trying to offer another perspective. I don't know, it's just funny because he keeps wanting to blame me for everything, and it's like, I can just, I feel he doesn't like me because I'm not doing what I was supposed to be doing. I'm not taking care of his nastiness and cleaning up the pee off the fucking couch because he can't get up and do anything for himself, or like the fucking apple cores that he wants to leave in the armrest of the couch or on the end table of the next to the couch. You know, it's like there's always trash everywhere. It's like, I am not your servant. And I used to clean up this shit because I didn't like the mess and it bothered me, so I would clean it up. But then I realized that by doing that, it just made him keep being worse, right? It never fixed the problem. You know, he's still nasty as fuck. So yeah. Attacking this grass like I have a problem with it. I don't. I like grass. But yeah. I feel better. Yeah, okay, back to the car thing. When we were going to his appointment and he was pitching a fit and acting like a child, acting worse than a child, honestly, because at least a child has the excuse of being a child. You know, and if something, you know, is emotionally complicated for them, they're still trying to learn their emotions too. You know, my father doesn't give a shit about tending to his emotions or doing anything to work on bettering himself. He just wants to bring everybody else down. And there was a whole lot of 11s or 1s saying that. So, yeah. When my dad was obviously choosing to stay in his negativity the other day, I was sitting there thinking, I don't give a shit if you're late to your appointment. It's not my appointment. I'm not the one driving. You know, I'm not the one who assumed I knew exactly where it was at when I didn't, and all this shit. And in the negativity, proceed to set it up till we caught every single fucking stoplight that we possibly could. It's like, that's not me. That's not on me at all. And it's like, it's one of those things like where you can feel somebody being really pissed at you. I'm surprised he hasn't tried to backhand me or something, but, you know, I don't know, maybe it'll take this connection until he gets to that point before he realizes there might be an issue. But I was just sitting there thinking, it's like, look, I don't give a shit if you're late to your appointment or anything, and as far as I'm concerned, you're dead to me anyway, and as soon as I'm out of this fucking situation, I will not be back. Like, I do not care what happens beyond that. It's like, that's on you. You're choosing your negativity. You're choosing to be an asshole human. That is on you. That is not on me. Just because you fucking did your part in raising me to this abusive, toxic system that I was never supposed to move beyond or, you know, find a better way out of, I don't care. You know, that's not what I'm here to do. And I don't care if that pisses you off. I don't care how much you hate me in the meantime. Just don't. I'm ready to be fucking done. So, yeah. Yeah. Back to my shirt. And it makes me happy. Especially that little piece where it is like the specific contrast to, you know, my dad has the shirt with the soldier in front of the cross that says, I will serve or whatever, and then I'm walking around and I will not serve. Fuck this. And he probably doesn't have the sense to catch on that, I mean, that's a big part of what I'm not going to yield to any longer. But here we are. We'll figure it out. And until then, I am embracing my full heathery, and I have no problem with that. So, yeah. But I think I'm going to wrap it up so I can meander back to the car and head back home, I guess. Maybe skate. I skated yesterday. I didn't think I was going to get to skate today, you know, because there was supposed to be a puppy, but then there's not a puppy. There might be a Gracie later, because I think there's a possibility she's coming over for a sleepover. Although when I was talking to her dad, and she found out that there was not a puppy, she was all sorts of bummed. Which again is probably the bigger part of the reason for the puppy, because Gracie's getting ready to move to Oklahoma, and God only knows what my deal is, so they're trying to bring you back in wherever they can, right? And yeah, so now that's not a thing. At least not right now. She's gonna keep looking. And that was the other thing. So yesterday, right, my mom and her poor brokenness, and feel sorry for me. I think it was just the vampire trying to gain access to my space, to be honest, now that I'm thinking about it. She comes to my door, or my office door last night, and says, I can't unhook my bra, can you do it for me? It's like, so she comes in, and she's standing next to me, kind of hovering over me afterwards. And she's just looking around. She says, it's got a nice ambience in here. It's like, probably be better if I finished putting it together, but we haven't got motivated to do that just yet. But then it's like just that her being in there was just like, so maybe I need to break out the sage spray. I do need to clean the bird cage, so maybe I'll put them in the bathtub when I get home and use the sage spray in my space since she came in. And yeah, we're just looking around at my stuff. It's just a pleasant ambiance. What the fuck, go away. and also I know because I like it that way. I like it when, y'all aren't fucking up my space. And later, because it's literally just this quick and that easy, that little bit of access right there, and helping her out with the thing because she just can't do it on her own because her arm is broken. She then is sitting at her computer talking to her friend on the phone and asks me if I would fold her laundry that just got done in the dryer. And for some stupid reason I went along with it, and I was just kind of thinking, what the fuck is going on? Why are you doing this shit? And it's like, because there was not a thing in that load that was mine anyway, so that was like all her and my dad's stuff. And it's like literally these little things along the way, that is how easy it is to shift back to giving them access to my energy. And it's like, fuck, why do we do it again? Yeah, so I was not putting forth any effort, and it was like pulling them out, folding them really badly and stacking them up, and everything was going together. Normally she'll split her stuff from my dad's stuff, and I was just like, nope, it's all in one stack. Underwear, random socks, all in there, figure it out yourself. And as I'm listening to her on the phone, she's talking about how she's just overwhelmed because there's just so much going on right now. And I just stopped and was like, so why in the hell are you trying to get a puppy? And apparently the friend she was on the phone with said the same thing. And she said something about us both being a pain in the ass. And you both said the exact same thing at the same time. It's like, well, somebody's got to use their thinker, because it's clearly not you. Yeah. But I think that's everything I wanted to cover today. What time is it? Oh, it's 5:17. Yeah, I should probably go feed my dogs, or see if they've been fed. Usually they wait for me, but we'll see. I don't know. I probably won't skate tonight. Might just go write some more. Have been having some luck with that. This gave me some ideas today. Oh, and so I put it with the plumeria flowers because it's kind of similar to this shade. But then I was thinking, it's like, I should see if there's any meaning to that. So, okay, what does the plumeria mean? And the thing that came up was talking about love and beauty, and wanted to say like spiritual, something to do with like spiritual devotion or awakening or something. It's like, oh, I feel like this is all like right there together, right? So hey, perfect choice for the yeah, the stuff. And actually on that end, you know, this, I don't know if I mentioned that point or not. I think I did. That yellow tones, you know, go with the solar plexus chakra, and I think solar plexus chakra has something to do with like your self-esteem and identity kind of a thing. So it's like, ooh, like there's like all these layers to this outfit now. It's like I was just pairing it because it kind of works together, and I kind of dig it, you know. And then there's like all these other pieces where it's like, ooh, I like how that works. Just accidentally piece things together well, even though others, I mean, probably aren't going to say it's pieced together well because the band name is Rotting Christ and it says non serviam and it's got the upside down cross, so, which makes like every horror movie I've ever watched have like take on a whole new layer of of this whole thing, like with everything that I'm learning on the on all of that. I spent some time this morning thinking about, you know, okay, the shirt. You know, let's stick with the shirt. Just that. It's like, I am like 1,000% confident that Jesus would have been a big fan of this band, right? Because it actually goes right along with the point of his existence. Because the point is, yes, you can do the healing work to, you know, remember who you are and like the fullness of who you are. Then like the religion comes along and like pisses all over everything, and like people change the things that it says in the Bible so they can like manipulate you into believing other bullshit. And, you know, suddenly there's this delusion that, you know, because it says, no, this is the inerrant God-breathed word, or, you know, inerrant, yeah, well, whatever, the idea of, that's probably mostly like church bullshit that threw that stuff in there. You know, and you're not supposed to change anything and all that shit. It's like, I always had a problem with the part where it said that it was, you know, God-breathed and that things couldn't be changed, because in the stories that I picked up from like the Hebrew scriptures and whatnot, there was never a time in which God required anybody else to be other than what they were in order to use them for the greater purpose, right? So to say that he basically moved them out of the way of themselves to breathe this thing into existence, that doesn't line up. It just doesn't. Because never, you know, okay, you know, yeah, there's the whole thing where, what was it, Moses went up to get the 10 Commandments, and when he came back and everybody was like worshiping idols and stuff, and he got pissed off and like threw the tablets and then had to go back up to get them. And, you know, it's not, he wasn't, you know, reprimanded for that. I mean, okay, I don't remember all that story, but it's like he was still able to get them again. Oh, my phone's at 15% now. So it's like even that little bit of like the angry meltdown, it's like that was still something where like their humanness came out, right? So, you know, but God still used him for this bigger purpose, right? So yeah, like the idea that it's just this God-breathed thing and you can't change anything. It's like, that doesn't sit right, because God never required anybody be anything other than who they are. I mean, you have to work on yourself, obviously, to some level, and, you know, improve. You have to care about improving yourself and not just, you know, giving into being the bullies to all the other asshats in the world, or the asshat bullies for the others in the world. You know, we all do that. Just like literally, there we go again. It's like we all have played that role as the bully. Nobody is ever exclusively the hero, the villain, the victim, or the saint. As I've said many times again, or as I've said many times before, I will say it again. So we've all had that role, and it's been, the thing is, do you learn from it, or are you just committed to being an asshole and treating everybody else like shit? You know, and like my family, committing to being the assholes and treating me like shit. And each other for that matter. Like, that I'm not the only one that was treated like shit. I'm just the one that was capable to see through the bullshit and what was actually happening and now call attention to it. And yeah. Anyway, there's a whole lot. It's like, this is like the big direction, right? Because like, I always come back to this when I'm really wound up on anything. It's like, yeah, and going back to that point where Jesus was turning tables over in the synagogues, right? Or like outside the synagogues, because people were like, ripping everybody else off. And it was because it was a problem with the Pharisees, right? So basically, the people that were in there that wanted to take control and keep everybody controllable just turned Jesus into this lone God figure that, and a big part of this was Holy Ghosting the feminine to keep, if you come into, marry the two aspects of yourself, the feminine and the masculine within yourself. That would be like, so like the feminine, like the flow, right? And the masculine, like the frame, and I always had a really hard time with the frame and with, disciplining myself to do anything, because I thought I was just supposed to be this little, lowly, submissive female and do what was told of me and blah, 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 blah. But as soon as I started like setting boundaries and not just going along with the bullshit that I was getting pushed into, and started to, like this YouTube thing, when I started doing the YouTube thing and making it more of a priority, it's like that is a big part of me finding my frame and taking action on the thing that I knew I was supposed to be doing. Whereas before I was just getting swept up in everything else, right? But if you marry the two aspects of yourself, so you have the action and discipline, you're able to do those things and to, and then you use the flow with that's being, creative and all those, I don't know, all the flowy things. Then, like that's where the power is, marrying the two aspects of yourself together, and then I think a lot about how, specifically like looking at those in like music, but especially metal music, because, for so long, I bought into the bullshit at one point that, that it's bad, it's the darkness, you're supposed to stay away from that, those people are going to hell, this kind of bullshit. It's like, you get locked into this idea of something, but it's like, first off, I'm sure there's plenty of dudes that are assholes or have had asshole moments in this community, but at the same time, I know far more of them, or I've seen far more of them that are like amazing people and like actually care. That's the big thing. Care about the world around them and, what they're putting out there. And, the creativity, of course, talk to a musician, they're going to tell you about being in the flow state, right? Or like, artist even, and all those things. So, oh man, I might have to pause it so I can go to the car and plug it in. Yeah, let me do that. Okay, so I made it. And there's unfortunately a bunch of people around with their windows rolled down, so I'm going to talk with mine mostly up. I have this awesome air conditioning situation where I'm not sure if it works at one. Furnace, heat and AC. It's like 4 is like the only thing that really works. So we'll see. Anyway, but like, so I always kind of had this idea that like the world changes, we're going to come through music, right? And like I've received messages in various ways through the years that's always kind of supported that idea, but I never, that's the wrong way, dude. That's a one-way road and you are going the wrong way. I've never really, I have to go Windows. Considered metal because that just seems weird, but yet, okay, like there's some Metallica stuff that my brother got me into when I was like, 8 and loved it. Unforgiven, I think, was the big one. And yeah, but it was like relatable stuff, right? So like as I've been kind of making all these connections here in the more recent years, like, okay, these guys I fucking love because that the one song, Apage Satana, that I always talk about on here, and that has many times, yes, I have used it to push my father's demons out of my space, if you will. It's like the whole thing. It's like the translation, be gone Satan, right? So it's like, and then I when I looked up the words, it was like the Lord's Prayer, and it's like, what the fuck? So it's like this whole group of people that have been ultimately kind of demonized because of music, music that they listen to, and like the fact that they're not afraid to call attention to the bullshit of the world or use questionable means, I guess, of doing that, the stuff that pisses off the religious assholes, and yet then there's that thing, it's like, whoa, that just like takes on this whole new layer of like this thing that's going on, and like where those of us who are here to change the world, where we're even coming from on that end. And it's like, we literally have to go all the way in and heal what is ours to heal, which the difficult part is because, we haven't grown up in a world where we've learned anything about boundaries. What are those? Why are those relevant? A lot of people get pissed off when they're not able to run over your boundaries, especially the religious types. So, and I can guarantee there'll be things said when I spend my time with my family in this shirt, and I might just do it every single time I'm around them, to be honest, like the extended family and whatnot. But yeah, but it's like, it goes back to that, okay, because it's, definitely not exclusively masculine by any means. There are a lot of men that are into this type of music, right? And, since you basically get demonized for this thing, this is fucking music choice. It's like, it doesn't matter if there's anything beyond that or not. You would be demonized alone for that music choice, right? So then just embrace it, right? And especially since there are so many men, they are able to do that. But because they are, creatives, because, there's so much, like, art in the thing, and, like, I've heard a lot of metal musicians talk about the flow state, again, which, again, being the feminine, right? So that's marrying the two aspects, so you have the masculine components, and then there's also the feminine, and you're able to embrace the full spectrum of the emotions. And like a lot of it, yes, there's like anger of course, but not even like that, there's the whole sacred rage piece that's still honestly a piece of the divine feminine as well, because it's seeing the bullshit that people are getting bullied by and being able to call attention to it. So this is something that is not right. So, you see the thing that's a problem, and you can spin it to use your voice and say the things that piss other people off because they can't say the things, right? And yeah. So it's like there's this whole other layer that's just like really sinking in here lately, and I appreciate it so much more than every single time I start thinking about like this kind of stuff. It's just like, oh man, there's so much more going on here, and also realizing like throughout my life all the ways that I keep getting pulled back to it. So like I talked about my brother when I was 8, and of course that's when the bullying started in the world around me. My brother introduced me to the Metallica music, and I loved it. And he also introduced me to now granted, there were like songs that I really liked, and I didn't lean into it fully until more recent years. But then of course there's like Rammstein and Du Hast. He introduced me to that one, which he's the one that introduced me to these guys too, with that song that I already mentioned, because he sent me like this, the video of them playing it. And, of course, drums, man. I love drums. Drummers have a special place in my heart. So, because those were like some of the most important people to me in my high school career, was like my friends from Drumline, right? And that's, of course, Pit and Battery. But all of those people, it's like, they have a special place in my heart, and then, going with that whole, the championships, that was a big thing, so special place, right? But even then, with the shows that we won the state championship and the world championship with, the music that our instructors took from was Tool. So there were like little pieces of like 4 different songs. I think we had Disgustipated, 46 and 2, Schism, and The Grudge. And I think there were like 2 songs each year for like the show. But then like the show that we won state championship my junior year with, this was the first state championship our school ever won, and it went to Drumline. So that was special in and of itself, right? And of course, there were those people in class the next week when we got the free cookie because we won the thing, and they're like, who cares about what the band did? It's just like, ooh, jealous much? Yeah, that was one of the mean girls saying that, and I just looked at her and laughed. I was like, all right, I don't care. But yeah, so like even then we had like Tool music, so okay, so we got Metallica, Rammstein, and Tool. So it's like these important parts of my life, right? And then like it's just continued on, and of course I got really into Five Finger Death Punch and Wrong Side of Heaven when I was in the military and on the verge of getting out because of my TBI, and I was going to write this letter to try to buy my way back in, I guess. And I spent this night at work because I didn't have a whole lot that I had to do, so I was able to, because it was the group home, so I was able to focus on this writing thing, and I started really honing in on like this whole, like the topic of like suicide in the military, and how that was kind of the big thing that I was wanting to, I guess, work with, try to, the prevention aspect of things on that end. And at that time, that was my focus for what I was writing. And I spent hours that night listening to the song, Wrong Side of Heaven, over and over and over again while I was writing this thing. And by the time I got to the end of it, I was like, I don't want to be in the military. It's like, this is the whole suicide prevention thing. Like, that's still a big thing that I feel is important and is part of my path, since, that was so much of my life was being ass deep in this whole suicidal ideation thing. So that's like still an important part of it. But then I just got to the end of it. It's like, I don't give a fuck about like being in here. It's like, I feel like I can be more useful elsewhere in other ways. And then, like, that's been a navigational thing that, you know, I'm still working on it. But the big thing is, how can you heal anybody else if you can't even heal yourself? So the focus on my channel has been my healing process. This is my healing journey. And, you know, and hopefully it helps somebody, you know, who's going through any similar things, or even if it's completely different, maybe something that I have to say will help in a positive direction. You know, my brother talked a lot about that when he was in his group therapy thing. It's like he'd have something completely unrelated, but something somebody else was talking about would just trigger it, and it's like, oh, you know, and you make connections that way or get triggered by things that way. It's like, you know, we're all connected, y'all. That's the big thing. But yeah, anyway, that's a point to still be further expanded on. And yeah. But I just kind of want to throw that out there. But it's hot in this car because it was 74 outside, and I have the windows up because, here, let me just clear all these things off of here while I'm doing a video. Yeah, 74. My air conditioning is not working at all because it's not on max, and I don't want to put it on max. And also, oh yeah, now that guy's rolled his window up. But I'm gonna wrap it up because an hour and 40 minutes. Probably good enough. But yeah, I'll have to continue expanding on that whole point. And yeah, there's my my flower I couldn't resist. Did I need another flower or plant? Probably not. Do I love it? Yes, I do. I really love having nature in my space, especially the plants. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up, call it a day, and as always, I appreciate you. Until the next time, see ya.